Hello everyone. Hi, I'm Mukul and I'm here with my friend and colleague Rakesh. We both work at Cloudera and we have been working on Apache Ozone for last couple of years. And today we'll be talking about how did we develop a high performance object store uh, on Ozone and how is it really optimized to run analytics like workloads. Okay, so let's quickly go through the agenda. So we will be covering a few things in here. We'll start with the overview of Ozone and then how we have architected it, what are the some of the important pieces of Ozone, and then we would specifically be going into the performance aspects on how Ozone becomes a high performance object store. So we'll be talking about how we implemented atomic renames and deletes, and then we would specifically be going into some of the performance benchmarks where we would present some of the micro benchmark as well as more application based benchmarks as well. Okay, let's start with the architecture. For those of you who do not know, Ozone is an object store, and the most of the people who had worked on Ozone were earlier working on HDFS. So we have learnt about the problems which we had with HDFS, and we have tried to solve them that those with Ozone. And so Ozone has been developed ground up from to work with big data applications. So it has been working with applications like Spark, Hive, and Kafka from the day one. Some of the primary goals of developing Ozone was to go beyond the scalability limits of HDFS name node. So we provide, significant scalability improvement when compared to HDFS name node in terms of storage capacity as well as IOPS. We provide Kerberos security, uh, which is the same as how Hadoop security looks like. We are fault tolerant, so you can fail any of the master nodes as well as the data nodes, and the system self corrects itself. And then we have provided ease of administration, and this ease of administration is provided using a utility called Recon, and we'll be talking about that later on. Ozone has been designed to be multi-protocol to start with. So we support currently S3 protocol as well as the Hadoop compatible file system, but the whole system can be changed and to add as many protocols later on as we need it. Uh, so I've already covered some of the protocols in the previous section, but just quickly skimming through, another thing which I would like to call out is just like the HDFS name node, we can also support the RPC client as well as we also have plans of adding things like NFS and POSIX file system later on. Another important thing to point out is that right now everything runs on top of containers. So Ozone is also cloud native, and with cloud native I mean it can run on top of Kubernetes, and we actually use it to test our system. Apart from that, Ozone volumes can also be exposed inside Kubernetes containers, and where the application running inside Kubernetes can write to Ozone as well. Okay, so going a little bit more into the architecture, right? About what are the moving components. So I'll start from the right. So if you would see on the right, you have something called the Ozone Manager. Ozone Manager is our namespace manager, and this actually manages the name to block mapping. So anytime you create a file or you want to do a listing of of the files in the system, this is basically all of your calls go, and this is where the name metadata is. Below that, you have something called the storage container manager. The storage container manager is your block space manager, and it takes care of things like the cluster membership. Basically, if you lose a node and if you want to do replication, that's basically what storage container manager is offering. And the storage container manager and Ozone manager talk to each other via a protocol where they only talk about block information. So storage container manager has no information about what is the name of the files which are stored inside those blocks. And we have designed it in such a way so that each of the components, the namespace and the block space, can be scaled independently of the other service. In HDFS, both of these were monolithic and were inside one single name node. And we have tried to break that monolithic architecture and make these two separate uh, processes, so that each one of them can be scaled irrespective to each other. And the data nodes, even though Ozone data nodes are different than HDFS data nodes, they are in theory very similar to how HDFS data nodes behave. But obviously, we are writing the data differently a little in here. And on the right, we have something called the recon server. The recon server is an administrative utility, and the recon server keeps getting all the real-time updates from each one of these uh, daemons which are running, and this would give us uh, fine-grained analytic information on things like what is the average size of the file, uh, how many data nodes do I have, uh, what are among those data nodes, how many are getting decommissioned, how many are really active. And so it is really an offline process which is not in the IO path, and gives you all the information about how the system is behaving. And the reason we have developed this also is from our learnings with HDFS. In HDFS, we had seen that the name node also answers administrative queries, which wasn't really the need, and that's the reason we have designed Recon to be a external process. Now, coming to the left, we have the access points on how we can access Ozone. So if you would see, we have got the Ozone file system connector at the top, and that's one of the methods of talking to Ozone. We also have the CLI shell. The CLI shell is just like Hadoop command line, and the CLI shell can again be used to talk to Ozone Manager or Storage Container Manager. At the bottom is what is our REST endpoint, or what we or how we can talk S3. So S3 gateway servers is basically when how users could talk to Ozone via HTTP protocol. Yes. So that's pretty much how what are the pieces are. Now let's quickly go through some more details about the overview, right? So here, if you would see, we have the Ozone Manager, which is the namespace manager. It manages quotas, access, user permissions, some of these things, right? The storage container manager uh, manages the blocks, cluster membership, replication, right? Now, the data node is, as I said, is similar to HDFS data node. The biggest difference is that in the Ozone data nodes, we actually make use of something called something of storage containers, and a storage container is actually a group of blocks. Rather than just writing one block directly to the data node, we actually write the data to a container, and a container can actually be imagined as a group of blocks. And this really helps us in solving the small file problem, because rather than reporting each and every individual block to the name node individually, we report them as a combined entity. Recon, we have already covered enough details. Also, some of our most important building blocks are industry known pieces. So we use Raft for implementing HA. We are using RocksDB to store metadata, which provides the scalability, and we are using gRPC and NetEase for the data transport. And then we also support the Hadoop security model, which helps it integrate in the big data world in a secure manner. Okay, so again, this is again the previous slide, but in a little bit more detail on how the access points look like. So if you would see on the left, we have the S3 ingest. So basically, all of your S3 commands come that way, and they go to the S3 gateway. Then you can also access Ozone via the S3 browser, as well as using a Kubernetes container over S3. And on the right, you have the traditional big data workflows. So applications like Hive, Spark, and Flink, they can actually talk to Ozone via the Hadoop compatible file system. And then we have Ozone sitting right in the middle. Okay, now I'll be handing over to my friend Rakesh, who will be going into more details about how this feature has been implemented.
Yeah, thanks, Mukul. Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk about the file system optimization work that we have done in the Ozone storage system and makes it well suitable for the big data workloads. So this work is already available in the master branch, and it will be included in the upcoming releases. So before we talk about the Ozone, I would like to touch upon the Hadoop compatible file system API. This is most commonly used API in the Hadoop system components, ecosystem components, and it has most of the commonly used file system operations like creating a file, creating a directory, deleting, renaming a file and directory, and so on. So mostly this includes all the features that HDFS offers. So now the Hadoop ecosystem components can easily, like Hive, Spark, Impala, MapReduce, can easily integrate with Hadoop compatible file system APIs without worrying about the underlying storage system. The underlying storage system like Microsoft Azure, Amazon S3, they can write their own connectors and talk and convert the data to their own fashion. So we have basic Ozone file system implemented for the Ozone, and big thanks to Apache community, Hadoop community for the hard work. Yeah, now if you look at the big data analytics tools like Hive, Impala, Spark, they often write output to temporary locations during the execution, and finally it will be visible to the job committers. So during the course of execution, directory rename is a mechanism that widely used to complete to commit the work of a task or a job. So when you look at the task execution, the task output will be returned to task attempt directories, and that is a temporary location. And once the task is done, it will be a task is committed, it will be moved to a job commit directories. Once the job is committed, all the task committed directories will get renamed to the final output destination directories. That's how the analytical tools handles the distributed workload. And now comes to the object store. How the rename is handled in the object store. It is pretty simple way. They write a new key in the system and delete the original key. Let's imagine there are millions of subfiles or temporary locations generated during the task execution. So we can see that it will be too expensive to list all the directories and delete all the original subdirectories and files, right? So now, if you look at the job committers of Hive, Spark, MR, we could see that they demands atomic rename and delete operation for the consistent listing operations. Also, it impacts the rename or the delete operation impacts the overall job performance. So now we can take a quickly look on how object store rename or how Ozone handle the rename and delete. So with the left hand side, you can see this is the uh, example file system namespace where we have three depth directory one slash directory two slash directory three. Under directory three, there are millions of files in the system. So you can correlate this with the Hive workload. For example, these many millions of files generated during the task execution and the job execution. And when someone try to rename a particular temporary directory, for example, I'm going to rename directory one. So the entries in the rocksdb looks like this, right? So there are the prefix paths like volume slash bucket slash directory one. Those get duplicated to all the files, million files, right? It has to list all these files and then do update all the subdirectories and files in the system. So it will be a painful operation. So now comes to the Ozone file system optimization work that we have done. We have introduced metadata layout format. There are two formats we have introduced. One is file system optimized format, and which is purely HCFS semantics with limited S3 compatibility. And the second one is object store, which is the traditional key value store format, pure S3 object store semantics. So I'll talk about the internals of this in the next slides. Yeah, the first rectangle box, gray color box, that is the traditional object store looks like. For example, I'm going to create a file. It will have entries like directory one slash two slash three slash file one. There will be four entries in the system, right? Now, in the file system optimized mode, the green color rectangle box, you can see that we have borrowed some of the concept from the Unix directory table, and we have splitted the key table into two part, directory table and file table. So instead of keeping the duplicated prefix, what we have done is we have maintained a unique ID. We have used Ratis transaction ID to ensure the uniqueness, and that will get prepended like 512 slash directory one, and we'll be generating a specific object ID for the directory one. So when you create a directory two, it will be creating another object ID like 1025, and directory 3 has this fashion. And finally, when I am going to create the file entry, it will be put into a file table in this particular format. Now let's see how what happens when somebody is trying to rename a directory one. So here in this you can see the first row, right? 512 slash directory one. It is pretty straightforward that I can rename the directory one underscore new to the first row and just update the rows DB. And we are able to complete in a fraction of seconds, milliseconds, and we have the complexity of order of one, and all the subfiles will automatically get renamed. And for example, if somebody is trying to list a directory one content, it will do a top down parcel or traversal basically. uh, so first it will identify the directory one entry and find out what is the corresponding object ID of directory one, and then it will fetch next 1024 slash directory 2, and then move on to directory 3, and then finally we'll go to the file table and list down all the million files. So this is how the listing operation happens. In that case, we have completely avoided the duplicate effort of updating all the keys like we saw in the previous diagram. So the same thing happens with delete operation as well. So let's say if somebody is going to delete a directory, say directory one, it's just again a simple one row updation, like 512 slash directory one will get completely removed, and now all the subfiles and subdirectories starting with the prefix 1024, that will become orphan. Yeah, now comes to the S3 like object store, right? So how the S3 like object store handles the rename that we saw, right? It does a copy and delete the original file. So let's imagine there are millions of files in the system. It has to perform all these operations one by one, and that will definitely has very bad performance. So in that case, what we saw in our performance benchmark, we have outperformed the S3 like object store, and mostly we have seen that we have a deterministic performance number rather than uh, there are millions of subdirectories and subfiles in the system. And we have done a couple of micro benchmark using the famous DTSG ozone tool. So here the tool does, it will create n number of directories and n number of total files in the system. So in the first row you can see I have a 10 span. That means in a level, I'll be creating 10 directories and 10 files. And the depth I kept static. It has a 3 depth. So in the first row, when I execute the Freon benchmark, it generates 300 directories and 600 files. And with the file system optimized, we could see that it finished in 21 milliseconds, but in the object store key value store way, it took nearly 2 seconds. And now let's say if I keep on increasing the number of directories and number of files, you can see at the last row, ninth row, there are 24K directories and 49K files. It finishes in 63 milliseconds in the file system optimized mode, but in the object store, it took almost 167 seconds. So with that, what we can say that it has a consistent performance numbers. Also, it has advantage of the atomicity guarantees. And the same thing happened during the directory deletion. So when I delete the root directory, what happens is the first row, we have again a smaller millisecond operations, but it took nearly 188 milliseconds. And if you move to the eighth row, we could see we remain constant irrespective of the number of subfiles and subdirectories. The main reason for the performance gain is we have only, with the new file system layout, we have only single RPC call to perform the rename and delete operations. But in case of object store layout, there will be too many RPC calls pumped to the system. And so there will be a lot of IOs and disk IOs and network calls. And that actually degrade the performance of the object store system. Also, we have done some Hive drop table comparison that we have done against HDFS. So we could see that HDFS has the query completion time, which is less than a second. Now we have done a drop table of catalog sales, and which has around 5K subfiles and subdirectories. And HDFS finishes in a second. And with the file system optimized layout, we have also done in a second. But if you see the object store layout, it is a pure key value store. There will be a lot of duplicate prefixes in the system, right? Like we saw in the previous diagram. And it has 12 seconds. It took 12 seconds. And under the hood, what happens when you drop a table? It performs a lot of rename operations. Actually, it will invokes file system.delete, but internally what happens is it will move the data to table data to the trash. Obviously, there are some improvement areas we have to do, like file creation and directory creations. So we compared ourselves Ozone with OBS and FSO layout. So what we could see is that OBS is performing better than FSO layout, but there is the minor performance gain. It's not like a massive performance gain or degradation to the file system optimized layout. So here we could see that when I'm going to create a 550K directories, it took 122 seconds, but object store took only 112 seconds. But when I'm going to create 50K files, the difference is 322 and 307. So this is an improvement area we have to do in the file system optimized mode. So our team is focusing on optimizing the performance in the next phase. So basically the summary is, so we are better than S3 like object store in terms of performance of the rename and delete operations. Also, we guarantee the atomicity as HDFS. So now the job completion happens or the task completion happens, it can provide a consistent view or consistent listing of directories irrespective of any partial failures or any other inconsistencies in the system. So we provide a consistent view always. Also, our performance is the same order as HDFS. So basically, there are a lot of items to be covered in the future. So we have a future roadmap of FSO. We are planning to move the layout to the bucket so that uh, a single OM can handle a multi-protocol behaviors. Like when I am going to create a bucket, I can specify that, hey, this bucket can be created in the file system optimized layout, or I can create a bucket in the object store layout. So a single OM can handle both the layouts together. And so the S3 client can talk to the S3 bucket layout, and traditional analytical big data tools like Hive or Spark or typical MapReduce, Impala, they can talk to the Ozone manager in the HCFS Hadoop compatible file system manner using FSO bucket layout. Another important thing is, like I said, we are doing a top-down traversal for the listing operation. So there are areas to improve the caching part. So we are relying on the RocksDB cache now. So we there are analysis or the work is in progress to cache uh, the way to the cache the directories or the prefixes. Also, we have uh, another work happening on the log management. So now the lock is happening on the bucket level. So it's a bucket level is acting as a global lock. So we can, now the prefix id is in place, so we can redesign the lock management using the prefix ids. So we can move the locks to a specific directories of the prefixes. So this work is in progress. Yeah, so thanks everyone for listening the talk. So please visit this roadmap, Ozone roadmap, to understand what are the future work happening in the Ozone community. So you can reach out to Mukul and Rakesh in this Apache account. Also, feel free to drop mails in the dev community, Ozone community in the dev channel. So we are happy to help you in contributions. Yeah, thanks everyone.